Welcome to the Guy at the Movies podcast with Joe and Sean. This is our 3-hour episode devoted to dissecting Thor: The Dark World. Sean, are you ready?
That's my ancient lamenting music that I'm playing right there.
That's a little frightening.
I tried to figure out the best. I've been working on the imitation all day, and I know I already biffed it. So
Well done. All right, so here's what we're going to do today, a little bit different. We are going to be talking a lot about Zack Snyder's Justice League, but we are going to start off with a little bit of Marvel news. So there's been some decent movie news this week in terms of the fact that we have theaters that are starting to reopen. We can see the light at the end of the tunnel, maybe-ish. The light's there. It might be like the light that's, telling us all to come to the light and we're done. But I don't know. Exciting stuff going on.
I'm looking forward to, we've both been in the theater now. We've seen what they're like. They're still there. They're ready for us to come back. I think as hopefully just more and more people get vaccinated. I hear the stat, what is it, 3 million people a day? And it's just okay, this is looking good.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
We are getting there. Soon everyone will be double
vax.
All right, so like I said, we're going to dive into the Zack Snyder's Justice League conversation. We weren't ready to do it last week just because it had not been publicly released, but we are going to have some fun with that today. What I do want to start with is talking about your awards watch from this past week, because talk about having some fun. You're like, I don't effing know what to do with this category. Best Supporting Actress. Sean, what's going on with that?
Usually in the acting categories, there's a pretty clear front runner, and surprises can happen, or maybe there's two front runners and something could happen. In Best Supporting Actress, literally every nominee has a road to be able to win. This is sort of unprecedented. It quite isn't, because in there I talk about how in 2007 the same thing sort of happened. I won't be able to do them all at once, but Tilda Swinton, Kate Blanchett, Ruby Dee, Saoirse Ronan, Ruby Dee from American Gangster.
Oh.
Yeah, she got the SAG. And that was the thing. Everybody was getting different awards. And this is happening now this year. If we can call the frontrunner a frontrunner, it's Maria Bakalova, but that just also seems crazy to me. My theory is that I want Minari to win Best Picture, so I need Minari to win more awards. So Yu Yun Jeng should I would love her to win that. It's also a great performance, so I would love that.
It's fantastic performance.
Olivia Colman is also great in The Father. She might be the only one just because she's a recent winner. And I'm trying to do all these off the top of my head, and I am screwing it up. I talked about 3 of them, and there are 2 others that I'm going to just talk about the number 2 until I think about who they are.
No help here.
Yeah, no, this is fine. I should have this tab open like all the other tabs I have. But regardless, those 2 are – no, wait a minute. Oh, my God, Glenn Close. And this is the interesting thing with her is she has been nominated for an Oscar and a Razzie for the same performance.
Yeah.
I don't exactly know what people do with that. I mean, I think it's an okay performance. I think the Razzie's a little bit weird of a nomination. She's a little goofy in it. I think that in any other world, she would just be winning, but the Razzie is just such a bad look. And I do understand, it's about the performance and not the politics, but, if they give it to Olivia Colman over Glenn Close again, it might look a little bit rough. And the 5th person another one that might be a frontrunner is Amanda Seyfried. And she was just someone that was loved from the beginning on this and has just slowly lost steam in a race where no one has taken the lead, so she could still be someone that wins it. However, she's one that's probably honored just to be nominated situation.
I'm just thankful to be here. Hopefully they don't wear pajamas or jeans or any casual wear, because that is something that they are being told not to do, since we are going to have Oscars in person. So that should be interesting.
That sounds great. This is, first of all, the person behind this is Soderbergh, just great, obviously filmmaker, but they just said, you know what, Soderbergh, you produce this because this looks like an impossible task and you'll do something weird with it, like put Meryl Streep on a cruise ship and without a script. And what I love about this is that it's going to still be obviously very safe, but I think that almost only the nominees are getting invited. And I think it's just going to be something where there's going to be several rooms, 2 different locations. They're just not even bothering with the host thing, because when you're in this sort of situation, a host just doesn't work. And I love the idea of maybe this being actually pretty safe, which seems surprising, but with still like a very limited amount of people.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the nice part is it's going to definitely save us from any of those awkward Zoom moments, like when Daniel Kaluuya's Zoom wouldn't work, and any of the other, like, we're gonna hear the nominees coming up, and they're all sitting there like on the screen, like.
It's always tough because the only people that nailed that little weird awkward exchange, because everyone else was terrible at it, they're like, "Can you hear me? Can you hear me?" were the actors in a comedy with Sudeikis there and Rami Youssef and Don Cheadle. They were all just having a blast, and so I just kind of wanted to watch them for the entire ceremony.
Again, they're like just happy to be here.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I'm up for it. It's funny that they're bringing Soderbergh in. I think that's pretty entertaining to me. It's kind of like he wants to be the savior of the awards, like Christopher Nolan did a great job saving. Yeah, with his.
No, but do you see? He went to the IMAX theater. He's still the savior of cinema. Than those photos.
Yeah, he probably was in there by himself and made them play Tenet. Come on, let's be real.
Oh God.
Oh my God. All right, so let's dive into some of the news that we have going on. But before we do, let me remind everyone that you can catch Awards Watch with Sean every Monday, definitely leading up to the Oscars, and then we'll have some fun stuff after that as well on guyatthemovies.com. That's the commercial that's going to play. .com.
I kind of like it. Yeah,
I do too. We'll work on it. All right. Let's talk about what's going on in Marvel world. So this past January, rumors started swirling that Chris Evans was signing a new contract to appear in a movie or two that would be. They were likening it to how Robert Downey Jr. appeared in some films with Tom Holland as Spider-Man, to kind of be that mentor for him in a role. And Evans had replied on Twitter saying, "Well, this is news to me." Now, Kevin Feige, who was doing press last week for The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, said this: "I rarely answer no to anything anymore because things are always surprising me with what happens. But that rumor, I think, was dispelled rather quickly by the man himself." Now, look, that's not a denial, okay? That is not a denial. They also, and we're going to get into this later when we're talking about Zack Snyder's Justice League and some of the shit going on around that right now. But they, number one, he's correct, Feige, in that they never want to say no, because if there's enough oomph for it and momentum, then they're going to do it. The second piece is there were some pretty specific conversations that were fueling these rumors from some. I think Deadline even reported on it, and Deadline doesn't get they focus on their sources. So I don't know. They're just playing this cat and mouse game of like, well, I don't know, maybe we will, maybe we won't. Sounds like he dispelled it. Oh, what do you think about that? Do you want to see him back?
I mean, first of all, dispelled by the man himself just absolutely was just, when I read that quote, I was like, oh, he's going to be in the next episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier. That was the most obvious little coy thing where it's just like, hey, he said it, we'll believe it. I think that I'm okay with seeing Chris Evans as Captain America in every movie, all of them, even the Oscar nominees for Best Picture this year. What I really think about it, though, is I'm okay with seeing him. I think the MCU is done with him. I think they feel like they're done with him. And let's not forget, we said Captain America is going to be in the Spider-Man Homecoming movie or something like that. And he's on there as the promotional videos in the classroom and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's hysterical and it's really great.
Hey kid, so you got detention or something like that.
Hannibal Buress. I'm pretty sure he's a war criminal now, but we gotta play this anyway. Which I really do absolutely love those, but that will be the cheap way that he comes back and makes an appearance in these. Yeah. I do maybe not even for comedy, maybe for a flashback, maybe for a memory service, but just the whole thing. It's like he said, news to me. What a load of crap! And then after that, you heard them from the man himself. I was like, no, that means we're seeing this guy. They're just leaving it open for that possibility. Yeah. But you can tell both of them were very choice in their words.
It's good publicity.
Oh, yeah, we're talking about it.
Yeah, we're definitely talking about it. We're also talking about the fact that Black Widow did get moved and is going to Disney Plus, as well as theaters, the way that we originally thought it would probably a year ago. But here we are in March, I think, of 2021. Is that where we're at? I don't even know. But this comes days after Disney CEO Bob Chapek had said that it would be a last-minute decision on Black Widow. So what's going on is that Black Widow has moved from May 7th to July 9th, 2021. It will be additionally available on Disney Plus Premier Access, which is the additional charge, probably like $29.99. And this also impacts the release of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, which has been pushed back to September 3rd. Before we dive into this, let's talk other Disney delays. Cruella will also debut concurrently in theaters and on Disney Plus Premier Access on May 28, 2011, while Pixar's Luca will be free to subscribers of Disney Plus, much like Soul was, on June 18, 2021. If you were going to make one of those movies free, I would make Cruella free, because Cruella looks like shite. And
I'm a little bit excited for Cruella. I won't not. I like Craig Gillespie. It's going to be dumb, but there's a part of me that got a little bit excited for that. But no, keep going. Sorry.
No, you're good. We're going to circle back to this because I just raged to you about the whole Luca situation, or I'm going to rage again. But Ryan Reynolds' movie Free Guy has been delayed to August 13th, 2021. And The King's Man, which is a movie that I don't believe exists, was supposed to come out in February of 2020, has now been pushed back to December 22nd of this year. And Death on the Nile has been pushed to February of next year. And these announcements, I think, are really shitty. On the side, I need to say this because, theater stocks and such have been trending up. And that's because the outlook has looked much better for theaters in the short, especially getting back to it in the short term, but then long term, seeing that things are coming back. You have, AMC was starting to really get rolling again. Regal just announced that they're going to start a phased reopening of their theaters starting a couple days after Godzilla versus Kong. Godzilla versus Kong. I do that every time. Oh my God. So this is kind of, I think, a dick move by Disney a little bit, to be quite honest. To wait this long, or to kind of like pretty much, I don't know, they knock theaters down a few rungs by saying like, we're moving our slate. And it's all greed, it's all money. They want the biggest possible return, which is fine, understandable. But the one that really gets me is Luca going to Disney Plus for free. It really irritates me because I have long raged about the representation of LGBTQIA individuals in the Disney filmography, whether that's Disney Pixar, Disney Animation, or even in live action. It's always a fleeting moment, or they're like, guess what? We have a lesbian in this movie. And she's like, yeah, my girlfriend at home. And there's the scene. Like, that's all we get, right? Talking about Onward. Luca is one that I firmly believe. I believe the story is an allegory for gender identity and acceptance and things like that. That's just the sense I get from it, and I've been saying that from the beginning. And now they're like, yeah, you know what? We're going to put it on Disney Plus for free. Have fun. Like, what is going on? Like, Disney cannot navigate themselves into, like a diverse offering in theaters, or even dive deep into full representation of the world today. They always have to kind of knock it down a little bit. And I'm just pissed off, Sean.
Well, Joe, that's not totally true, because there was another movie that was for free on Disney Plus, and that was Soul, and that had the first black. Oh,
yeah. Are we sensing a theme?
Okay, wait a minute. Yeah, no, there's a few things there. It is upsetting, and also it's just weird. I mean, we also have the Victory and Diversity for Raya, and that goes on Disney Plus with the pay with the $30, and then the Black Widow thing seems strange because they're moving to July for the $30 move. I mean, knock on every ounce of wood you can find, but I really think that theaters are going to be semi-safe in July, and I think people are going to want to go to them. And you know what? If it's $30 to see Black Widow, I'm going to go to the theater, and I'm going to just pay $12 and then pay like $8 for a soft drink and then $10 for a pop. Oh,
I see what they're doing.
But I don't know. Yeah, their move here is to move things back. I don't know if it's to keep streaming relevant. I don't know if it's to make sure it's safer in a theater so they can get more money that way. Some of these that's not the case. I mean, Luca, when is it being released right now in this summer?
July.
Son of a bitch. That is really doesn't make any sense.
Wait, June or July? Hold on 1 second. The answer to that is June. I lied. June 18th.
Still, though, I mean, hopefully by then we're still going to be pretty good. We'll be able to hopefully go to theaters, or at least you put the $30 on Luca. It's really it's baffling to me. There's this lack of consistency that I don't get. Now, once again, right now I'm asking you to put $30 on a bunch of movies. Wait, please, no, give them all to me for free. But it feels off. It feels random. It feels like they don't have a plan. This is Disney. They definitely have a plan. I'm not seeing what it is.
It's also the second Pixar movie in a row that's going straight to Disney Plus for free.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, I mean, let alone the fact that it's two diverse characters or diverse stories. And maybe I'm wrong on I don't know anything about what's going on.
Buddy, if you've seen that trailer, that trailer's gay as hell, man.
What are those mermen doing?
It's a town that hates mermaids, and the two boys have to keep it secret that they're mermaids. I mean, holy crap! But
I wrote it.
Some heads.
I read it. Also flying over some heads is the announcement that DC Comics, while they are basking in 1.8 million views in the first 5 minutes as Zack Snyder's Justice League was released on HBO Max, have decided to move forward with an Hour Man comic, just as everyone has been asking. The character first debuted in 1940 as a chemist who used his created Miraclo, which I think of as Miraglow. That isn't it tied to Chia Pets or something?
Oh yeah, I thought that was just something you put in the lawn to get the grass when you buy a new house.
Which also begs the question: when are we getting a Chia Pet live action movie? It's coming one day.
Say that into the universe. There are a lot of high priority Hollywood producers listening to this, and they're going to now make a Chia Pet movie.
Netflix is like, yes. And Shudder's like, that's what Geo Parsons should do. Actually. It should be something with Chia Pets and shit. That's right up his alley.
I trust him with it, yes.
Anyway, so Miraclo, there's a synthesis that gives him super strength and speed for just 1 hour at a time. The character has yet to appear in a DCEU film, but he's been one of those characters from the background that's been pulled from multiple DC television shows on the CW, like Legends of Tomorrow, which people actually really enjoy, and Stargirl, which I actually heard was pretty decent, and I just haven't gotten around to it. But, Hour Man, that's what you've been waiting for, right?
That name sucks. Because it's just Hour Man. Is it the possession of a certain man, or is it Hour Man as in H-O-U-R? Now, I know it's Hour Man as in H-O-U-R, but I'm just terrified right now that I spelled hour wrong. But I had to check that one. I don't know. I guess throw it against the wall, see if it sticks. This feels like Project Power. And just they take the pill and they get whatever superpower they have for an hour or something like that. So I guess it sounds fun. This is the nightmare thing with a comic book heavy movie episode, is because I love comic book movies. I love to watch them, but before they hit the movie theaters, I have no idea of anything about comic books. And so when I saw that Hour Man was going to be in our notes, I was like, Joe is taking the lead on this bad boy. I am sitting back.
It's so funny because there was breaking WB news last week, and I'm like, oh, what are they going to talk about? And they're like, Hour Man is in development. But the second piece of this breaking news from WB last week is actually, I think, an incredible story. Is that Emerald Fennell, who wrote and directed Promising Young Woman, has been hired to write the screenplay for the upcoming adaptation of DC's Zatanna film. Zatanna is a magician with varying magical powers who's shown up in previous Justice League arcs in the comics, and once had a romantic relationship with Constantine, portrayed by Keanu Reeves in the 2005 movie. And this is maybe a little bit of a stretch here, but there's been rumors of them wanting to get Constantine back up and running. And of course, Keanu Reeves, everyone loves him and shit now. So I wonder if that's a backdoor way to get him involved. But obviously the Zatanna being written by such a powerful filmmaker, I think is a great move.
This is like the perfect casting you do. This is Patty Jenkins going from monster to Wonder Woman, which, was quite a gap. But it was the same sort of deal where you are creating a very complicated female character at the center, who almost shouldn't be complicated, but for different reasons.
Yeah.
And now you're going to you're going to bring that complication to this, pretty like high stakes comic book movie. And, we want our heroes complicated. Even when they're as wholesome as Captain America, we want them complicated. And I love the idea of, first of all, female-led superhero, female director. It's thankfully not new. That's happened already with Patty Jenkins. It's the right call. It's the right way to do the perspective. I once again know nothing about this character. However, I do know that like people love Constantine. It's for some reason, it's something that is just absolutely like everyone really does love it. And so I'm all for this. Everything about it. I mean, first of all, like I didn't love Promising Young Woman. I had a few issues with it. Mm-hmm. All around pretty solid movie. And I think
hated the ending.
Yeah, that ending was just, man, it like really deflated everything. It was a little bit rough. And I just think that with this, there'll be some more interesting takes that can happen. And, she's a great writer as well. So I'm in.
DC has seen some success with bringing in strong female filmmakers and screenwriters. I mean, Birds of Prey, which isn't the most fantastic movie, but it was decent enough, and they handled Harley Quinn's character really well as some of the other introduced female characters in that film. Kathy Yan did that movie, and I think it was Christina Hodson, if I'm not mistaken, that wrote it. So I'm all about that. My concern is we have seen that sometimes they give a little bit too much rope to filmmakers after, like a one and done type thing. It probably should have been thinking about Wonder Woman. I of course want more Wonder Woman movies, but I think Patty Jenkins maybe was good to introduce Wonder Woman. Maybe should have spent the time during the pandemic where there was a delay for Wonder Woman 1984 changing things. I always think back to that, like when they gave it a March release date or a May release date of last year originally, and she was like, "The movie's done, we're ready to go. I wish it was sooner." And I'm like, well, maybe you rushed it a little bit because that movie shat the bed.
But it was weird. It's weird because, I just recently listened to the interview with Mark Maron that she had that was like back in January, but I'm backlogged on my podcast. And I absolutely love what she had to say about it because she did what she wanted. She made the movie she wanted. No villains die. She makes a plea to the masses. She felt that was the spirit of Wonder Woman. The execution was god awful. And there was just a lot there that was just like really wrong with it. It was a real tough, it was a tough watch. But that's the one that you're saying, give them enough rope. Will it work out? I mean, then you go back to the first Wonder Woman. And my only criticism of that is that I wish there was no Ares. Or that the Ares wasn't as much of a monster. It turned out to be the human twist and everything like that. You are obviously not going to get that in a comic book movie. Patty Jenkins wanted that. And then WB came in and said, no, monster fight. And okay, that's what all of that's going to be. I understand it. And it was still a great movie. But it is interesting where you want to find that middle ground. And that is kind of difficult to find.
I also recognize that I'm being a little hypocritical because I'm saying it's pretty much taste, right? Like I'm saying, you're giving them too much rope to work with, and then here we're about to talk about Zack Snyder's Justice League, where he did what he wanted to do, and we got a 4-hour movie. And he's a very divisive filmmaker, so I don't know. I want to see, I guess, more cohesion in the films that we're getting from DC, and I want to see better storytelling all around. Hopefully, Dame Helen Mirren will help bring that to Shazam 2: Fury of the Gods. Because she has been cast as the villain in a superhero movie. She is going to be playing the character Hespera probably, who is described as the daughter of Atlas and has not been seen in a DC Comics before. So,
I mean, this is outstanding. This is outstanding casting, and it's not actually as nuts as we might seem. Helen Mirren likes to have fun. She likes to win her Oscar for playing the Queen, and then she'll do Red, and then she'll do Fast and the Furious, and then Hobbs and Shaw. She'll bring her character back. She really does like to have fun, and it's sort of refreshing to see that. And Shazam is a movie where people will just have fun, truly will just have fun. Levi, especially, strong, hamming it up. Jaimon Hounsou, which is like really just like absolutely brilliant that he's in there in like a couple of in just a couple of scenes, which is truly great. And I love the addition to her because she is someone that can have fun. She already looks like a goddess. She has the authoritative nature of a goddess. This is this is home run casting. I'm telling you.
It was really surprising when I first saw it. Actually, my first reaction was, is this real? Or is this like The Onion doing something?
It does seem like something that is too good to be true.
Right. But no, I'm pumped for it. I think it's good casting. DC is pulling some high, I almost said high ranking, but that's not how it goes. Some reputable and notable actors into their films, which is cool to see. Marvel's done that. Disney in general is really good for that. So I'm excited to see where this goes.
It is interesting that actors want to try that because I feel like that is one of the most challenging acting jobs, and maybe that's why they want to do it. But, they're acting in front of green people or green screens, and they have to pretend almost everything, and it just is really this very difficult stuff. But I guess it just looks like so much fun, and maybe you get more eyeballs. And, I think, actor Helen Mirren doesn't have to worry about her views on Instagram Live or anything, but it is just, I guess that might be one of the reasons why, is that it just looks fun.
I agree with that. I totally agree with that. All right. Shall we dive into Zack Snyder's Justice League?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Of course, this is the 4-hour film that has been long awaited. And, first it was long rumored to exist. Then he confirmed that it existed, he being Zack Snyder. And then HBO Max came around and WB came around and said, hey, you want to do this? And he said, yeah, okay. And so now we got the 4-hour movie of Justice League. To preface, I guess, sort of those of you who aren't aware of it, but if you're listening to this podcast, I'm sure you're very aware of it. This is a totally different movie than you got in 2017. I think there was about 25 or 15% or something was like reused or something like that. Yeah. There's another article out there that 10% of this film was in slow-mo. Which is a Zack Snyder staple, and
that's actually not bad for him. I mean,
we got a lot of it. But I'm going to start off. My reaction, I saw a screener of it a couple weeks ago, and I have since watched it 7 times. And that's not a joke. But I very much enjoyed Zack Snyder's Justice League. It's long, it's self-indulgent in a lot of ways, but it is a well-executed character study of each of the characters. Cyborg absolutely steals the movie, Ray Fisher. There had always been a rumor or the comments made by Snyder that Cyborg was the heart of the film, and he very much is. Even the Flash, I think, was handled better. Sean, you texted me when you were watching it about Wonder Woman and her first fight scene and how that was a better 15 minutes of Wonder Woman than the entire last movie. I was a fan of it. Again, long, and there's parts where you can see that if if they would have said, "Hey, make your movie," and then you need to shave some time off of it, you can definitely tell what could be shaved and still deliver the core of the movie. But Zack Snyder tells these epic tales, and I mean that's the same with Batman versus Superman. The Ultimate Edition is a much better film with the additional 35 minutes or whatever it is than the theatrical cut. And I think these are deep characters that he's taken on, and I think the one thing you can say about him is that he understands each of the characters he's working with. Sean, your thoughts?
Well, I'm going to start at the beginning when I rolled my eyes whenever I saw #release the Snyder Cut, just dismissing it as internet irony. I just thought I have not had the respect of Zack Snyder really. I was just like, okay, yeah, I don't know. I mean, these DC movies with him, they've been okay. They had general apathy with me, which is even worse. They weren't hatred. It was just kind of I would go through Batman versus Superman or Man of Steel, and I'd be like, okay, yeah. it's unfortunate that I, sort of felt this way. So Justice League comes out. Joss Whedon directs it. I was like, hey, Avengers. And so, I'm all happy because I'm a Marvel boy. And I watched Justice League on a plane coming back from Spain. And I hated it so much that I was actually watching a muted version of Geostorm on a seat nearby and was more interested in what was going on with the giant weather machine on mute. So, cut to all that. Then I this release the Snyder Cut. I'm like, what is it? This is stupid. Why are we doing this? I'm someone that's against director's cuts as well. I think, hey, I want to see the original. I'm a theater purist. I'm very much so like that. And so when they said they were actually going to do it, we get into another iffy thing of the demand of the fans and how should the fans be listened to? We could see positive versions of that with Sonic. Thank God they changed Sonic.
Yeah.
We could see negative versions of that in Star Wars Episode 9, where they just retconned everything from 8 because there was a group of fans that hated that one so much. And so I was worried about that, and I saw that, and I said, boy, I don't know about this. Then they're going to demand everything, which they're starting to do. If you give a mouse a cookie, baby. But, then we started this podcast, and honestly, you helped open the guy plug his book, Release the Snyder Cut. What's his book?
Yeah, it's called Release the Snyder Cut. It's from Sean O'Connell, wrote a good book on that. That's available on Amazon and elsewhere. So check that out.
And that interview sort of opened me up to okay, so maybe this is a little bit, this is something a little bit more different. It's a little bit more wholesome than it's looking like. Because, it does look like internet bros just screaming until they get what they want. And so I understand why a lot of people look that way. Look at it that way.
Sure.
And so then I realized there's a lot more to it. Then I saw, all right, what's going to change? It's going to be a couple of things. It's going to be like Lucas did with the Star Wars, where he put like a monster in the background. And then I start to hear everything that went on behind the scenes. And then I start to hear that pretty much it's 75% of a new movie. And then it just ends up being more curious for me. Some of my big issues with Justice League, the Joss Whedon one, was that we only had a movie character for Superman, kind of for Batman, and Wonder Woman. Everyone else was a brand new character, and I didn't know them. I didn't care about them. Throughout the entire movie, there was nothing that helped establish them. Granted, it was like 2 hours less, but this Snyder Cut, which I will now finally say, wow, was this good? And every instinct in me says that I don't want to like this movie. It's a DC movie. It's a Zack Snyder movie. It's a 4-hour movie. It's, everything in there. And it turns out that this movie has just a dynamite story behind it. It, as you said, cares for every single one of the characters. They really each get their own spotlight. And that's important for a couple of reasons. First of all, because you want to care about them when they're fighting together. But also because some of them are keys to the plot. And you mentioned him as well. Cyborg is the standout. Cyborg's the heart of it. Ray Fisher does a great job. But also you need that character fully developed. Because kind of most of the stuff, he's the one carrying the mother box. He's the one that has to actually, I don't know if we're spoiling, but has to take care of a lot of stuff when they head to the quote unquote Chernobyl town. It's interesting with this movie.
Dashevsky or whatever from the first. Dashevsky.
Oh God! See, that's the kind of, when, and then they're having that competition. Superman carrying more men than him, and it was just I thought about that stuff as I'm watching this, and I'm like, this is 4 hours, and it's actually more concentrated. I don't know how that could have happened. How they could have pulled that off. But I will say that this passes a different test. We're both people that like comic book movies. We're both people that like action movies. Whatever. But this passed the Fiance Test. Sam liked this movie. Wow. She did not love it. It was not her it's not going to be the thing that she absolutely is crazy about. But I will say she was into it the full time. I often have to compete with movies and Instagram with her. And a lot of times Instagram wins, which I understand. I look at phones too, but I will say that with this one, she was really paying attention to the movie the full time, the full 4 hours. We watched it in 2 days, but she really, really did enjoy it. And she said, all right, this was something. And she saw it as a victory lap for Snyder. And so that might segue into our next part of the conversation of, I think this, you started up.
No, go for it. Go. I want to know where you're going with that.
Well, I think this is this seems apparent from the news, but I think this is the end for Snyder and DC, and I think that's okay. I know that there was more things to look at. I know there was more avenues to go down. We could see more of Darkseid. We could see more of Martian Manhunter. Maybe they'll do that stuff. I just think that right now he did a great final movie. Let's not hook up with the ex we broke up with, and let's just, really just enjoy this final push, this final great moment. It gets tricky because I don't know how good would this be. Will Zack Snyder go back to his old ways? I mean, he sort of did, but some of the Snyder stuff is stuff I don't love, and it was in this movie, but the story was so good that I didn't mind it. His little Snyder flourishes. The slow-mo, all that. But I think, end on the victory lap, end on a high note. He's making the next movie is the zombie movie that sounds really awesome. And I love to see that crazy stuff. Like, let's just get nuts with, that stuff. And with DC, I think that they started before the Snyder Cut stuff. They started to say, all right, let's just release stuff out there. Let's not make a universe. Let's make comic book movies. Let's make comic book characters. Let's not try to compete with MCU because they're psychotic. They have the next 40 years planned. So I love the idea of, okay, you know what? Make some movies, make it interesting. I don't think the universe idea can really gel anymore. And that's my take on it. But you got the DC pulse.
Yeah, but I see where you're coming from. But I mean, that's where they're going with the multiverse. That's what the Flash movie is going to be all about. And that kind of real quick, there is a little bit of breaking news. Billy Crudup, who you enjoy, we talked last week about how he will not be in the Flash movie because he was double booked essentially. He has been replaced by Ron Livingston. Ron Livingston, it's actually not a terrible replacement. And Ron Livingston most recently was on, oh my gosh, what was he on? A Million Little Things, the TV show.
Oh, he was on that show. Okay.
Yeah.
I love that. I like that. Yeah, because it's tough. Because I said on last show, it was just like, oh yeah, no, you cannot replace Crudup because that jawline though, and I don't know what it is about his jawline, but it's just like absolutely exceptional. But I think
if you saw the picture. If you see the picture that they posted, here, I'll share it. The picture that comicbook.com shared, there is no jawline on Mr. Livingston here.
That's what I imagined, unfortunately.
It is problematic. No, here we go.
Oh, God, this poor guy.
Here is the non-jawline.
They put them together. Come on.
I know. It's so evil.
Oh, that's just vicious. But I think that's an okay casting replacement, though. I think it's, just like nice vanilla guy. It's a good little move.
So back to what the future is with DC and Zack Snyder. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know where I fall in terms of what I want to see happen. But I guess maybe I do, because what I'm about to say is I think they need to continue somehow with the breadcrumbs that he's laid in multiple ways. So one is, in this interview last week with the Warner Media Studio CEO, that's the article that's getting shared, or the interview that's getting shared, where people are saying she said Zack Snyder wouldn't be back. She never actually says that. And again, I think this is the lawyer in me that's like reading between the lines here. But she talks about a multi-platform approach and wanting to bring in a diverse set of filmmakers to tell different stories. And you see that DC's doing that with Todd Phillips and Joker, with Kathy Ann and Birds of Prey, with Emerald Fennell writing Zatanna. You see Shazam is a more family-friendly DC film compared to, again, Joker, which is not. And, and of course we have the past with Zack Snyder's films. Where I think they could find success is in really utilizing HBO Max. From what I understand, the head of, or I guess whoever her boss is, I forget his name, he was kind of the one that was instrumental in being like, listen, let's get this thing for HBO Max. There's a drum beat out there for it. Let's make it happen. And then it was released and it did really well, really good numbers. And it also was a good movie. It's rated very well compared to other Zack Snyder movies in particular, but then also in terms of DC, it's up there. And so I think, especially in two areas, there needs to be a focus on fleshing out more of the story. One is in the nightmare sequence that we get at the end, which was first introduced in Batman versus Superman, but it is really the introduction of Darkseid and the continuation on of the anti-life story and what would happen in the future when Superman succumbs to the anti-life equation and ends up kind of being the right-hand man of Darkseid. I think that's a story that would be really fascinating to tell, especially with how this scene with the Joker came about at the end. Side note, Joker, I mean, I'm not thrilled by him, but I liked him in this. I like what they did with him. And it's spoiler alert for the line. I can't get through this without saying my favorite line of that movie. It's when Batman goes, "When I kill you, and I will fucking kill you."
It's a huge moment because, like, when it comes to we have the issue of, like, does Batman murder now? Is it Batman murder? And then one person can poke their head in and say, Batman's not real. He can do whatever he wants. These are characters. They can do whatever they want. And I love the idea of this getting into a completely darker thing where Batman is not only going to kill Joker, but says fuck, and that's huge. That all of that graded there was wonderful.
So I think that's a direction that they can go if they wanted to do like an HBO Max limited series, because here's the thing we know about WB and DC. They copy what they see on the other side of the fence with Marvel, right? So with Marvel releasing all these series on HBO Max, on Disney Plus, we already know that we're getting a Green Lantern series of some sort. Again, Green Lantern was shown in this film, which was kind of cool. But you could totally flesh out and finish that nightmare sequence or whatever and still have it tie into the overall multiverse, because that was why the multiverse was created originally. It was ultimately created so like the stories could continue and always have different reincarnations and stuff like that. So that's one piece. The other piece is the Batman and Deathstroke direction. The reason I think that is more probable to happen is, number one, it was supposed to happen in the past in terms of the Batman movie that Ben Affleck was writing and I think was tapped to direct before they decided to go in a different direction when he stepped down from Batman and all that. But he's back, and there's long been rumors that there was going to be a Batman or Batfleck series potentially on HBO Max, and the inclusion of the scene with Deathstroke, the first scene, because there's multiple in this one, but the scene on the yacht with Lex Luthor, that's a very different scene than we got in the post credits of Whedon's Justice League. That one in Justice League 2017, I was like 2017. That one was sort of a setup of bringing in all the villains together and putting together a team to take down all of them. This one was specific to Batman and wanting to take down Batman, and Lex Luthor was bringing Deathstroke in. I think that's something that we could see, and I think that's pretty doable. You're, of course, not going to bring in, major characters, and I see comments in there saying the talent coming back for a TV show and stuff, but I can see that talent coming back for a TV show because it's happening all across the board. Streaming is a whole new ballgame now, and I don't think you're going to get an overloaded movie with 18,000 different people. Case in point, there's people that are dead at the end of this movie in the nightmare sequence. So, hey, that's cut some budget there. But I do think that there's avenues. So to sum up all this with Snyder, does he want to come back? Who knows? I think he definitely had the cathartic experience that he wanted and that other people were pushing for him. I think he is vindicated in that his direction, where he was going with the story, however much it may have fumbled around due to expectations, due to studio involvement, and then due to some of his own flaws. I mean, he does really kind of focus on some areas a lot more. I think he was vindicated. That gets us to restore the Snyderverse, and yes, that is what's happening right now. There's all that push for it. But from a business perspective, I do think they would be very dumb not to either whether you bring him back to do something, or you pick up the pieces of what he left you and the platform that he has now established, and you run with it on HBO Max, on whatever you want to do. From a business perspective, people liked this film. They liked what was going on with it. You probably want to capitalize on that in some respects and not just write it off. Will they do that? Who knows?
Well, it's weird because, you think with that announcement, and you're right, they didn't officially say, like, we will not be having Snyder Cut, we will not be exploring the universe. They don't really officially say those things, but it seems like then will it look like, and maybe this doesn't matter, but will it look like they're once again catering to the fans? And could they spin that as a good thing? It's my comment is worthy of an eye roll. It's not exactly but it is some of the public perception that could spin it. And so, do they want that public perception? Or are they worried about that?
Well, they wouldn't be a problem if they didn't fuck up the characters so much in the beginning. The problem is what they're working with are established characters that people have expectations for. And, it's like the same with Marvel, right? There's comics, there's established storylines, there's arcs, there's certain lines that you don't cross with the characters. Marvel's done a good job of kind of building an overarching story and putting that all together. But when you read, for instance, again, Sean O'Connell's book about what happened in the days before I guess Man of Steel even got going, was that WB really wanted to catch up. As we all pretty much knew, that's what they wanted to do. And they tried rushing things a little bit. I think, yes, is it catering to fans? Yeah. That's what businesses do. They want a sequel to a movie. You want Cars 2. You want a third Thor. You want Taika Waititi is going to come back because his third one was so well received. That's what you do for business. And if it means you're catering to fans, no, I mean, fans wanted what was already established to be released.
I guess what I mean, like catering to fans, you're absolutely right with that argument. And, you're convincing me more and more, by the way. I don't know why I'm dying on this hill.
No, I get the conversation. I totally understand.
It's their thing of like, they say like, all right, Snyder Cut, cul-de-sac, no more Snyder Cut. Now, I guess maybe more of the public perception of going back on their word, which, who gives a shit? Everybody goes back on their word all the time. But do they say like, do we change our plans? And I say to DC, you change them all the time. So, it doesn't really matter. And I want to see these worlds explored. I mean, that credit stinger was put there for a reason. He could have ended it with them just looking down, and it would have been a great ending. But he put some, so-called post-credit, I mean, they're before the credits, but credit stingers there. He put the epilogue in there because he says, either I want to do this or, hey, do this. Like, do this in memory of me. I think Jesus once said that, which, but yeah.
Well, and here's the other thing. You have a situation now where if they do go back on their word, they say, haha, look, we always were thinking about what we could do, but we couldn't tell you at the time because contracts weren't signed and all this. You know what I mean? It's the Kevin Feige thing we just talked about with it's the same type of thing. Like it's just the business of movies. You're never going to see a sequel to blah, 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 blah. And then here it comes again. It's just crazy to me. The other reason why I think that there's other stuff at work here is, number one, like I said, there wasn't a flat out no or like a kicking Zack Snyder in the ass on his way out. There's some pride in there. And I think if they don't move forward with him, that's got to be part of the equation there. Like WB as a company being like, well, fuck that filmmaker.
We could do everything without him.
Right. But two other pieces are that if you remember back when Jared Leto was first cast as rumored to be in the Snyder Cut, he made a comment when he was speaking with in an interview. I can't remember. I got the quote from the playlist. Our friend Griff Schiller writes for them. But he said, I look forward to working with Snyder again in the future. We have lots up our sleeves, Zach and I. And the rest of the conversation is they talked about the Joker and the character and really fleshed things out. So part of me feels like, there's directions, there's places to go with that. The other piece of this, and this is me building a circumstantial case, for you legal nerds out there. There's no hard evidence in any of this, but this is a circumstantial case as to why I do think AT&T is moving in some direction with these stories. It's well known, or it's well documented recently, that Snyder had the entire 3-movie arc of Justice League mapped out on whiteboards in the office that he had. You can find some images of them online. He just used a whiteboard and really went through everything. It's kind of cool to see that stuff from any filmmaker, to be honest. They are on display in the AT&T Tower in Texas, wherever, I guess Dallas, which is, cool. They're displaying it and being like, look what we have. But when he was asked about it, and I couldn't find the original article that I had read this in, but he pretty much said he has a whole new direction that he wants to go in with the characters. He has different stories or a different way to tell the story. That also just tells me like he's still invested in this. And I think he'll always be invested in it because it was such a big part of his life and part of his career. And he obviously loves the characters. But the other thing is he has a lot of other stuff going on with Army of the Dead, with a prequel to Army of the Dead that they're filming, and then with an anime Army of the Dead series coming to Netflix. Like, Netflix is all into it.
This movie didn't come out yet. What the hell?
Right? But for a busy filmmaker like that, you have your time is valuable, your mind space is valuable, and if he's working out stories as to where he wants to go, I do believe that there's some sort of involvement in the future. It would be dumb not to. Because he handled some of these characters better than other people handled the characters. Again, like back to your comment about Wonder Woman, I do think that Wonder Woman was handled very well in this film. And she was very strong. Even the Amazons, I mean, that whole scene where they're like, she says, show them your fear. And they're like, we have no fear. Cyborg, when he says, I'm not broken, that whole piece, oh my God, like just some good touching moments that get you into these characters. Now, this podcast has turned into me just talking about my love for this film and my hope that AT&T / Warner Media / WB / DC / HBO Max does the right thing. Do I think we're getting Justice League 2? No. Do I think we're going to get some sort of mashup of what we've seen? Yeah, I do. I think we're going to get something new.
I think you're right for a few reasons. Is that wouldn't have been like that. I go back to the epilogue. That epilogue wouldn't have been made.
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming HBO, Snyder got full control, but I'm assuming, Mr. HBO Max took a look and said, no, not that. That means we got to do more shit. And so I'm assuming that there's, something there that they're going to go after more. I really don't. It's a really tough thing if they bring back Snyder or not. A part of me says, I think he's ready to move on. I mean, He sort of left it open-ended with his comments. I just, this was a pretty rough time in his life. I mean, he was the Whedon of DC. Then he was the Russos of DC. Mm-hmm. And then they started to, hack away at him. And then he had a personal tragedy. It drums up a lot for him, I think. And if I were him, I'd be like, hey, man, I'm having fun with zombies in Vegas. I'm just going to do that. And, apparently Netflix loves me. So I will stick with them.
I would be surprised if you don't see him signing a deal with Netflix soon. Mm-hmm. Because they've been signing a lot of those first look deals or, developing film and television. I think they're probably going to snatch him up more so because of the reaction that this film just got. I think that helps him more than it helps WB. I think WB's in a real pickle. WB needs to figure out how to, yes, Snyder fans are a small group of fans, but you don't want to alienate people. Yeah. And you also don't want to tell shitty stories that don't make any sense when linked together when films are told. So they have to address it somehow. Maybe that's going to be in the Flash movie in some aspect, but
I think the Flash movie is going to be a big connector with just what is next, what's going on with that. I'm still in awe that this was good.
Yeah.
This movie, it's really, if you told me in 2017 after I watched Justice League that I was like, hey, Zack Snyder's going to make this and it's going to be 4 hours long. Enjoy. And it's going to be on a streaming service.
Yeah. I was so nervous about it.
All of that sounds terrible. And this turned out to be great.
As soon as my dad watched it with me, and as soon as it finished, he turned around to me and was like, why the fuck did they not go with this? He was like, this would have made a lot of money. And I do think it would have done however they did it. I don't know that the original plan was to throw all this stuff together. I think part of the filming probably would have been used for a future film or future Justice League or whatever. But I do think that this would have had good word of mouth that would have made it a success. I think that's going to continue right now on HBO Max, honestly.
And I think this is like the film you have to make when you don't make movies for your superheroes beforehand.
Yeah.
You have to give like Aquaman a ton of stuff. You have to give Cyborg a ton of stuff, or you give them their movies like should have been done. And their whole thing, like we've been saying, is they're racing against Marvel, and because they raced against Marvel, they crash into the side of the course. And like I really don't, I guess if they took their time. And if Justice League came out, well, look at it now, and Marvel is still where it is, who knows where we'd be? I really don't. Like, it might they might be fine. They might be, because those movies were received well. Well, Batman vs Superman had its hard time with being received well, but before that, they really were doing okay. And I think
but they also made money, Sean. I mean, that's
true.
When you're talking about received well, I'm with you there. But Marvel fumbled. Marvel had some fumbles in there.
Oh God, yeah, you're right.
Early on, right? But I just looked it up. Man of Steel made $668 million, which is nothing to scoff at. And Batman vs Superman made $872.7 million. So they were trending up. Apparently, they were upset they didn't break the billion because that's what Marvel does all the time. And but
I feel so bad because when you said those two, I literally had in my mind, well, it's not a billion.
But they were trending that way, right? Like,
yeah, they were on the way, yeah.
Yeah, and
I guess when I say it, I mean, that's true. You're going on monetary success. I'm going on critical success, and monetary is way more important in getting more projects done. But
Wonder Woman made $822, and that got a sequel. And then Aquaman actually did cross $1 billion.
Yeah, baby!
1.148 billion. Which, why don't we just call that 1.15? Yeah, I don't know. I think WB is in a pickle. I think they're mismanaged. I mean, part of this also is to give this type of interview last week after the Snyder Cut came out. I just who the hell's running your PR?
Yeah,
like you're gonna come out and make enemies right away? Like, stupid people.
Like, here's promoting our movie by, let's just say we'll never have Snyder back. Like, it's
we thank him for our contributions, but we wish him well in the future.
How about this movie was awesome? Please watch it. For the love of God, give us money. I mean, I don't know.
It's insane to me. Well, good news is we have Bad Trip coming out on Netflix Friday, so all will be forgiven. We have a lot of great things to watch. And in the future, we're going to have the black and white version of the Snyder Cut coming out, because I think at this point, Zack Snyder's like, I want it in black and white. I have it done. Do you fucking want it? So that's happening. And then we also this week have Nobody coming out in theaters, which is the Bob Odenkirk. Is that the name?
Yeah, the Bob Odenkirk, John Wick thing they're doing.
I read a review that said it's like the snarky cousin of John Wick, and I'm like, okay, I'm into that.
That sounds great.
And then a movie I don't think I've talked about much here. It's called The Toll. I put my review up for it on Monday, and the embargo lifted. This was a movie I watched, maybe 3 weeks ago now. But I also interviewed the director for this, and it is that I'll be releasing that tomorrow. But The Toll is a horror film. It is kind of built on the premise of, you get into an Uber or a Lyft, or in the film, a rideshare, and you never know like who the driver is, right? And it could be someone creepy, and so you're already a little apprehensive, and then they break down in the middle of nowhere, and suspenseful things happen. It's low budget, but it's also done very well. It's kind of like, I think I called it The Strangers meets what did I say? What's that?
Spree?
No, maybe. There's some supernatural elements to it. There's some jump scares that, like, I was sitting here watching it and I jumped out of my pants, like, at this one scene. And I told him about it when I interviewed him too. I was like, listen, you have to know that I shit myself because of you. But no, that comes out on VOD, and check out that interview tomorrow. He's a young filmmaker who just really knows his shit. And it's a fun movie, so I do recommend that. I think you'd like it, Sean.
That sounds right up my alley.
Yeah.
I've only been in an Uber once since the pandemic, and they had their masks on, we had the masks on, but then they also had plastic all over the back, like it was a Dexter kill room. So I'm just like, I know this is for safety. But I am tracking where this guy is turning.
Well, and that's the thing with, like, I'm not going to give too much away here, but she does say at one point, the passenger, she's like, listen, dude, I'm sorry. I'm just tired. Can we just get there and, like, not talk? And I'm like, God, that's me.
No. Yeah, I've heard that's now an option for, like, the not talking
Don't
thing.
talk to me.
Buddy, I got an earbud in, and I'm listening to a podcast about trees. Just get me through this.
Oh, man. So, yeah, so definitely I recommend that. Couple other announcements. Until the end of March, the purchase a podcast t-shirt, all profits will be donated to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, which is awesome. I've actually opened that up, so if you don't just want our podcast shirt, there's some really comfy sweatshirts and stuff on there that say, like, I'd rather be at the movies. And that stuff, anything that in March that is profit will be donated. I'll update everyone on kind of like what that looks like at the end, or what the totals are. Tomorrow night, Trivia Night with Guide to Movies and the Chumps is DC Movie Edition, so that should be fun. I'm very pumped. It's very timely. 9 p.m. on YouTube and Twitch. And then the other thing that's up on YouTube right now, and I'm going to release this probably as a bonus podcast, but I had the opportunity to host a Q&A with the cast of King of Knives the other night. And King of Knives is a film that's available on Amazon Prime. It is basically about a family where, like, they're all kind of going through their own crises. The father, the main character, is going through another midlife crisis of sorts. But it's very funny. It's an indie film. It's just very well done. And the cast was delightful. I had such a fun time talking to them the other night. So highly recommend that. I
gotta remember to see that. I remember you doing that conversation on Monday, and I really wanted to check that out. So I still might.
Check it out. It's a really solid movie, and they're talking a sequel already, and it was really funny. Like, where could this go? And they're like, I heard it's going to Paris. We should film in Paris. And the screenwriter's like, I don't know. But she was great. They were all great. So, Sean, you know what else was great? This conversation, and we thank everyone for tuning in with this move that we made from last night.
I want to thank you all also, and I thought you were teeing me up for something.
I was about to. I heard you take the deep breath, and I was like, "You don't want to sit there."
I was like, "Is he gonna do? Am I gonna do the PSA now? Because I'll do the PSA now. Wear your mask." I actually think I need to be a little bit quieter because I think Sam's on a work call. So
wear your effing mask.
Wear your mask. Yeah, please, guys, wear your mask. And also, I know in my state we're getting very close to, like, almost all adults being eligible for the vaccination. Please, when it is your turn, please register to get vaccinated. Let's get herd immunity. Let's, like, be able to, like, move on from this thing. I know it's going to be a while still, but please.
Can't wait. Well, where can people find you?
They can find me on Instagram at Math Teacher Movies. I do Monologue Mondays, What the Oscars Got Wrong Wednesdays, and Final Shot Fridays. I review movies from old and new and TV shows from old and new. And I also have a column on Guy at the Movies called Awards.
I see your eyes tracking. I know you wrote this down so you didn't forget.
Oh, no, I truly didn't. That's just my eyes glazed over because I'm trying to think of it. And I have a column called Awards Watch, or is that what it is?
Awards Watch.
Awards Watch with Sean. And that is on Mondays on GuyAtTheMovies.com.
Very, very nice. And I can be found at Guy at the Movies on Instagram, Guy at the Movies 1 on Twitter and Facebook, GuyAtTheMovies.com for all your movie news and reviews. Need to plug all the contributors that we have for the site because there are quite a bit now. And everyone is bringing such a unique voice that it's just very cool. Mondays, of course, Sean, Math Teacher Movies, does Awards Watch with Math Teacher Movies. On Tuesdays, we just started this past week from Nate Night Movie Reviews. It's the Mando rewatch. He's starting from the very beginning of The Mandalorian, and he's a big Star Wars fan, and his column is really freaking good, so I highly recommend that. Wednesdays, Jaron from Jaron Talks is watching a streaming film that he's going to either recommend or not recommend. It's funny because he's been like, what do you think I should do this week? And I always give him, like, I'm like, listen, I haven't dived into this one yet because I don't know what it's about. So enjoy. So he watched Tentacles this week on Hulu. So that's happening. But there are video reviews on Thursday. And also on Wednesdays, I do a recap of the most recent episode of Superman and Lois. That will be coming out later this evening. Thursday's box office reviews, or boxofficereport.com provides a box office prediction column. And on Fridays, am I done yet?
I think you're almost there.
We have a lot going on. On Fridays, Darren reviews and recaps the most recent episode of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and that's Darren movie reviews on Instagram. And on Saturday, which will be starting up actually this week, will be the first recap. Our old friend KevBot9000, also known as TasteInFilm_bad on Twitter, is going to be recapping the animated show Invincible, which is coming out on Amazon Prime Video. I think the first 3 episodes hit this Friday. And his column last week previewing it was so much fun. So I highly recommend that. And then on Sundays, we wrap up with the box office results from the week, again, from boxofficereport.com. And always adding stuff, quite honestly. There's going to be Mike Lovins from Lovins Loves Movies is going to be doing a Bad Batch recap when that launches.
Yes.
We're going to cover Jupiter's Legacy when that launches. And some other fun stuff down the road. So check that out. That's a lot of shit. Good shit.
That's what you said when you shit your pants during that scene.
Yeah, thanks to the toll. Michael Nadler, thank you. So the other thing is, Sean, you listen to a lot of podcasts and you're a little bit backlogged, but the one podcast we don't want people to get backlogged on is this one. We release every Wednesday morning usually. This episode will be coming out on Thursday, but we record typically Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, and then you can find the podcast anywhere that you get your podcast the following morning. Please subscribe, listen. Sean, I did get a comment from someone recently that just followed me and said, "Hey, I just found your podcast a week or so ago. It's so much fun. Thank you guys for what you do, and keep up the good work." So
look at that.
Yeah, that was really cool.
That's fun.
But Rome wasn't built in a day, you know.
We're getting there. We're building that audience.
We're building that audience, and hopefully that audience is wearing what?
Oh, I hope they're wearing a lovely T-shirt that I'm not wearing now, but I'm wearing the guy who's film festival T-shirt. But hopefully they're wearing those T-shirts, guys. Buy those T-shirts on guyatthemovies.com.
I was going for masks, but yes, please
buy
them.
I thought I did that part already.
You did. I was just going to reiterate it.
This is bad because in the past 20 minutes, I think I've truly forgotten how to podcast. So
it's a weird time for us. Anytime that we don't do it at our normal time, we're like,
we're ending and it's still daylight. What do I do?
It's rainy and shitty here. So why don't we end this today? Say thank you for listening, Sean. Thank you for being here, and we will see you all next week.
See ya.
The Guy at the Movies podcast.